This Sounds of Reichian tape is drawn from 5 sources. One source is my own sounds, so that you can hear what a Reichian sound should be like. And then it is drawn from the sounds of 4 patients who consented to have their session recorded and published, though the names have been changed. Further, in recording my own sounds, I recorded them twice. Once with the microphone at about the same level from my face as was the case when I recorded the patient sessions, and once with the microphone very close so that you could hear even the slightest sound on the inhale or the exhale that I made. During the course of the tape, I will be cutting back and forth between my sounds and those of the patients. Further, in the patient sounds, I'll be presenting a number of different kinds of errors so that you can hear the variations. I recommend that you download and install a free sound program called Audacity, Audacity. Use a search engine to get to the website. This program is available for Microsoft Windows, for Apple, and for various forms of the Unix operating system. This program allows you to drag and drop with the mouse and thus repeat small or large sections again and again. It allows you to amplify or reduce sounds in a given area, and it allows you to see the wave shape so that you can see articulation and non-articulated sounds. When I play a patient sound, I'll often be repeating it 3 times so that you can more adequately hear it. But a note of caution. The fact that these sounds are noted as errors on this tape is not to be taken as criticism or condemnation of the patient. Each of these people is doing the best he or she can do at the present time, and one cannot expect them to be finished with the therapy when they're still in the therapy. I'll start by examples of articulated patient ah sounds. To recall for you, an articulated sound means that the throat is closed and opened again in order to create the sound.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
That's 3 examples of an articulated ah sound. Now I'll play some from my tape to give you an example of what a non-articulated ah sound is like. That was not one breath repeated 4 times. It was 4 successive breaths on my part, breathing at the rate of 18 breaths per minute. Now some more examples of articulated ah sounds before turning to numerous types of errors that people will make other than articulation, even when they do make an ah sound. This time I won't repeat the same sound 3 times. Each of these sounds will be from a different part of the tape and or from a different patient. Ah. Ah. Ah.
Ah.
Ah.
ah,
ah, ah,
ah,
Reich described the exhale sound as the sound of a sigh. To make that very clear, I'm going to sitting here at my computer recording this Sounds of Reichian tape. I'm going to do it both ways twice. First with the sigh, ah, and then with an articulated ah. 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 That may sound to you as though the difference is simply one of intensity, that the non-articulated sound is soft and the articulated sound is loud. That is not the difference. If you are using the Audacity program and look at the actual wave shape, you'll see that the articulated sound has a very abrupt beginning, which is not the case with the non-articulated sound. Now I'll turn to some other variations that the patients made of the ah sound. First, where they doubled the ah sound, so that slowly it went ah, ah, even though you'll hear it goes ah. 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 Ah.
ah.
Perhaps I'm giving the impression that every sound the patient makes is wrong. That's not the case. Here are some examples of near-perfect sounds that these people made during their session. Ah. Ah. We are not through with the ah sound, and actually I'll come back to it later toward the end of the tape. But before I turn to some other issues, and there are a lot more to return to, I want to give you two examples of a doubled sound, but not where it is ah, ah, but where it is ah, In other words, the second syllable in the same sound is a UH instead of an AH. Instead of a doubled AH, it is an AH, UH. One more issue with the ah sound, and then I'll turn to some of the other wrong sounds that these patients made during their session. This issue is the issue of the guttural sound. Guttural is a throat sound that is made during the exhale, but improperly so. So here are examples of gutturals.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
I provided examples of articulated sound, of doubled ah sound, of an sound and of gutturals, but it doesn't need to be a single error. Here's an example of a doubled sound plus a guttural. I'll repeat the sound 3 times to give you a chance to be able to pick out the doubled sound and the guttural.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
I'll provide some other examples of gutturals shortly, but here I want to give you just one more to say that a guttural doesn't need to be combined with just a loud sound. You can have a nice soft sound but still have that throat guttural sound.
Ah.
Now, in quick succession, a series of gutturals. Some of these are gutturals following an sound. Some of them are actually an AGH, immediately a guttural. Others of them are a guttural after an sound, a UH sound. One of them is after an HUH, or a H sound.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah.
There are still 2 issues of the sound with which I have not yet dealt. I'll return to those at the end of the tape. For the present, let's turn to some sounds that are made other than the AH sound. I'll start with the HA instead of the AH. So the person is saying ha instead of ah.
Ah. Ah. Ah. Ah.
Ah. Ah.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Now a UH sound.
Ah.
Ah. Ah.
Now, in quick succession, some of the other sounds that were made during these sessions. First an HUH, huh?
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Here are two examples of AGH, AG. Now, just to say that those deviations from are not the only ones that one can make. Here are some unusual ones. The first one is an HUGH. Here's a UR, which I'll play 3 times so that you can pick it up because it's very abrupt. And just to end this section of the audio with a very inventive sound, here's an HUH with an ARH following it. Now let's deal with the issue of the yawn. If you've read the book before listening to this audio, you know that a yawn takes precedence over any exercise and any activity. Further, the yawn should be extremely loud and only on the exhale. First, I'll illustrate the yawn from my sound tape. Now from the patient tapes. First, some examples of very acceptable good yawns from the patients. And now some examples of inadequate yawns. The first example is of a yawn that was stifled. Now some examples of where the patient yawns not only on the exhale, as he should, but as well on the inhale. The next example of a yawn was during the performance of the shrug the shoulders exercise. And instead of stopping the exercise for yawn, this patient actually yawned during the inhale and then continued the exercise on the exhale. I included the full execution of the exercise there just to provide context. Now, how can a person yawn on an inhale? Well, of course, one can't. Actually, this is a defensive use of a yawn. I mentioned in the book that in a Reichian approach, a body approach to psychotherapy, in addition to the mental mechanisms that are used as defenses, the body is also used as a defense system. Here, this patient has developed an extremely clever, if not even unique, defense against the therapy. Namely, he uses yawning as a defense against the therapy.